Okay, in this video, we are going to write an equation of a parabola given the focus and directrix. And these are the two problems that we will solve together. But before we solve those two problems, it's important to know the procedure. And these are my 6 steps. Step 1 says plot the given information. And these types of problems, we're going to be given the focus and directrix. Other problems will be given different information. But today's video, we're just going to be given focus and directrix. Step 2 says identify the axis of symmetry, whether we have a vertical or a horizontal. Now, it's important to note a parabola opens towards the focus. Step 3 says pick the correct equation. If we have a vertical axis of symmetry, then we use this equation right here. If we have a horizontal axis of symmetry, we use this equation here. X is equal to this one right here. Step 4 says determine the vertex. Step 5 says determine P, distance from vertex to focus, and it can be negative. And then step 6 says swap value to the equation. So once you know your vertex, once you know your P value, you have all the needed information to swap it back into the original equation to come up with the equation. So let's begin. So step 1 says plot given information. So we're just going to do a quick sketch. This sketch is just to help us determine whether we have a vertical or a horizontal axis of symmetry. So the focus is -4 up 2, and the directrix is y is equal to -6. I'll draw a horizontal line, y is equal to -6. Now step 2 says identify the axis of symmetry, and 2a says parabola opens towards the focus. So I know my shape is going to look something like this because the parabola opens towards the focus. Again, that came from our notes. So our note says parabola opens towards the focus. And so we're going to have a vertical axis of symmetry. Again, this is just a general shape. So it's not like perfect. Like this should go straight down to the vertex. Again, it's not a perfect, sketch, but this sketch, the only purpose we did the sketch is to determine what type of axis of symmetry we have. And so it's clear that we have a vertical axis of symmetry. Now, because we have a vertical axis of symmetry, we know which equation to use. It's going to be y is equal to 1 divided by 4p, parentheses, x minus h, close parentheses, squared plus k. So that was step 3. Now we need to determine the vertex, h and k. So this is important. This point right here is going to be h comma k. As part of the definition for a parabola and vertex, we know that the vertex is going to be between the directrix and the focus. They're equidistant. Obviously, in my sketch, it's not because I did a quick sketch just to help me determine the axis of symmetry. But with the definition of a parabola, we know that the vertex is going to be in between the focus and the directrix. And that for a vertical axis of symmetry, the vertex is going to be directly below the focus. So the x-axis is going to be the same. So we need to determine the vertex. So the x-axis is going to be the same, which is -4. So we'll put a -4, comma. Now the y value, the k, is going to be in between this y value and this y value. And this y value is 2, and then this y value is a -6. And we want to get the average, so we divide by 2. So we're going to get -4, comma, 2 minus 6 is -4 divided by 2. And so we get -4 divided by -2 as our vertex. I'm just going to jot this down that this -4 would correspond to h, and this -2 would correspond to k. So we're almost done. So we got our vertex. Step 5 says determine P, and P is the distance from the vertex to the focus. And again, the focus is just directly above the vertex. So again, we're just going to focus on the y value. So our P is going to equal, we got to see this y value. This y value is 2 minus this y value, which is -2, parentheses -2. And 2 minus -2 would give us 4. So our P value is 4. So going from here up to here, you're going up by 4. It's important to note, and we'll see in another problem, that your p-value can in fact be negative. But in this case, we're going up by 4. That's why it's positive p. Now our last step is to swap. So this was our equation. All we have to do is swap. We know what p is, we know what h is, and we know what k is. I'm going to just squeeze it right here. So y is equal to 1 divided by 4p. P is also 4, so 4 times 4, close parentheses, x minus h. And h is negative 4. So I can do a parentheses, negative 4, close parentheses, squared, and plus k, and k is negative 2, so we'll put a negative 2. Okay, we can clean this up a little bit, so y is equal to 1 divided by 4 times 4 is 16, parentheses, x minus 4 is positive 4, close parentheses, squared, minus 2, and we can box in this answer. This right here is our final answer for our first problem. Okay, this will be our second problem, but before we do it, we're going to go back to our procedure. So first we want to plot the given information. We want to plot the focus and directrix. Second step says identify the axis of symmetry. And we're going to do this by step 1. And if the parabola opens towards the focus, that's going to be our direction. And again, we're going to see a different problem. Our first problem was vertical axis symmetry. So I'm pretty sure the next one will be horizontal. So you'll be able to see the difference. Step 3 says pick the correct equation. This was for vertical. This was for horizontal. Step 4 says determine the vertex. Step 5 says get your p-value, and p is the distance from the vertex to the focus, and it can be negative. And then step 6 says swap the values. So again, quick sketch. It doesn't have to be a perfect sketch. The sketch is just to help us determine the axis of symmetry. So focus is negative 2 up 4, and the directrix is x is equal to positive 2. So directrix for x is equal to is a vertical line down, which is x is equal to 2. The next one says parabola opens towards the focus. So I know our shape is going to be like this because our directrix is here, our focus is here, and the parabola opens towards the focus. Also, part of our definition says that the vertex is going to be between the directrix and the focus. That's why I know it's going to be here and not here. So looking at this, I know it is going to be a horizontal axis of symmetry because again, if I draw a dotted line, it's going to go through it. So again, this point wasn't perfect. This point should have been up a little bit here. Again, the sketch isn't perfect, but the sketch is just to help us determine what type of axis of symmetry we have. So we're going to write the equation. So x is equal to 1 divided by 4p, parentheses, y minus k squared plus h. Again, the formula is different. For vertical axis symmetry versus horizontal, you notice this is minus h here, this is minus k, this is plus k here, this is plus h. The formula is different whether you have a vertical axis of symmetry or whether you have a horizontal axis of symmetry. Step 4 says determine the vertex. So here we see that the y value is going to be the same, which is 4. But the x-axis is different, and again, it's going to be in between the directrix and the focus. So we can say negative 2 plus 2 divided by 2, because negative 2 plus 2, and we want an average, so we divide by 2, comma, the y value is going to be the same in this case, so the y value is going to be up 4 or positive 4. And so is equal to negative 2 plus 2 divided by 2. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0, so 0 divided by anything is 0. So 0, comma 4. So the same thing, this 0 corresponds to h, this 4 corresponds to k. And now we need to get the p-value, and the p-value is the distance from the vertex to the focus, and it can be negative. And so if you go left, it's going to be negative. If you go down, like in the other problem, it would have been negative. So we're going left. We're going from here, we're going backwards. We're going left. So it's going to be negative. So we'll say p is equal to, so this value right here was a 0. This is our x-axis vertex, so 0, minus this value 2. Now, it's going to give us a negative 2. The big idea is we're going backwards by 2. So if this was a 0, this was negative 2, we're going backwards by 2. That's why the p-value is going to be negative 2, because again, we're going backwards. This is our starting point, which is at 0, comma 4, so 0, and we're going back to negative 2. So we are literally going left by 2. Okay, so now we have all the information to solve this problem. So x is equal to 1 divided by 4p. P is negative 2, so 4 parentheses negative 2, close parentheses, parentheses y minus k, y minus 4, close parentheses, squared plus h is 0. Now we can clean this up. X is equal to 1 divided by 4 times negative 2. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8, so 1 divided by negative 8, parentheses, y minus 4, close parentheses, squared, plus 0 is not necessary, so we can just keep it as this. And that's all we need to do to write an equation of a parabola given the focus and directrix.